Savitz. I'm a technology reporter for Barron's, and I am excited to be here today with John McGuire, who is the CMO at Qualcomm. We are here in the middle of the, literally in the middle of the CES show floor. In the hallway, people like all around going off to see cool stuff.
Yep.
And of course, the hottest topic of the moment right now in every place you go, every product, every presentation is about AI.
Sure.
We want to talk a little bit about the way AI is impacting your world, the way it's impacting marketing of products. And I would say that my rough guess is it's having a huge impact on the way you do your job. Talk a little bit about that, how AI is impacting marketing, and in particular, how it's impacting Qualcomm.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I think we're in a little bit of a unique position because not only are we a company that has researched and commercialized AI technology for the past 10 to 15 years, but as a CMO and Qualcomm as a business, we're an enterprise. So we're having to then grapple with a lot of the same issues and challenges that other enterprises are with how do I adopt AI tools? How do I integrate them into my workflows? How do I use them to become more productive or more creative? So as a CMO, I've been looking at that. And we have actually created a really great process within the company where we've taken a hive approach to bringing AI tools into workflows. And we have representation from legal and IT and marketing and all the constituencies to come together and vet these tools for security and safety, right? For how they're trained, for usability, for cybersecurity, those types of things. And once they get through that check the box, exercise, then we deploy.
Right.
So we've actually deployed quite a few AI tools across the company and specifically in marketing. Right. And right now we're starting with tools that enhance and accelerate the creative development process.
Right. Okay. So just to take a step back, that's really interesting coming from Qualcomm, which of course makes chips that are used in autonomous vehicles, which use a lot of AI. Right. You're doing a line of chip in phones. You're doing a line of chips for AI PCs that are coming soon. Yep. But what we're really talking about is it's really about content, right? So give me an example or two of the kinds of tools you're using and the way that your, say, content creation process is now different than it might have been, a year ago. Yeah,
absolutely. So I, as a CMO, and I think a lot of CMOs feel this way now and going into the future, we're now kind of content publishers. And we use advertising to advertise our content and to push people towards that storytelling. So the ability to produce content at a cadence and target it towards various audiences, the pressure has never been greater to turn it over faster, to make it more targeted, more relevant, and to iterate, to keep up with changing trends and moods and things like that. So bringing in AI tools to help us accelerate from ideation all the way through to test and learn has been super helpful. And so we've started with 3 specific tools. One is around copy development and product naming, and that's Writer. Writer has been an amazing tool for us to help accelerate the ideation process around copy development.
So copy development for like advertising copy or
advertising
marketing
copy,
collateral.
Marketing collateral, press releases, and also product naming, value proposition development.
So product naming is an interesting one, right?
Oh my God, product naming is the bane of any CMO's existence. To have to, first of all, come up with names. And secondly, then to vet them legally, trademarkable or not trademarkable.
You can type into the tool, we need a new name for a new thing.
And instead of getting a bunch of people into a conference room with a whiteboard and saying, what about this name? Or what about that name? And listing them all. And then we have to go, okay, let's go.
And then it turns out none of them are available.
None of them are available because somebody owns it in Zimbabwe and somebody owns it in whatever. So Writer has helped us really change that workflow process and make it faster and get to that end goal a lot quicker and more efficiently. But then just general copy development, right? Giving the creative process a kickstart, which a lot of AI tools really are meant to do. Writer has been helpful there as well. The second tool I would say is Firefly. So we have been a beta customer of Firefly with Adobe. I have, over the last year and a half, been reinventing our digital customer experience and redesigning our entire MarTech stack on Adobe.
Interesting. So Firefly has a few moving parts.
Yes.
I presume you're talking about the text image piece? Is that the part that you use the most, or other parts of it?
Adobe's taken Firefly across the suite of Adobe products, right? So it's now integrated into Photoshop, it's integrated into Lightroom, it's integrated into Express. So whatever it is, whether it's video editing, or whether it's developing campaign assets that are quickly translatable, that are global, that are customizable by region, all those tools are available on Adobe's suite of products now because of Firefly integration. So we're just starting to roll that out across our creative process. And then what we hope to do is we hope to deploy this concept of Gen Studio, which is really having a Gen AI driven creative studio with the help of our friends at Adobe. I should get a discount from Adobe that way. The amount of times I've mentioned Adobe at the show this week. But they are very helpful tools, and they are wow. I sat at Adobe Max and the light bulb really went off for me when I saw creators on stage doing things in seconds that used to take them days to do, and to get through the creative process. So Firefly is that next tool, and Firefly will be very horizontal and pervasive across our process.
So I'm familiar with a lot of what Firefly does, and one of the steps that Adobe's taken, is IP
protection.
Right? So you're building something on a large language model. Now, in their case, they've built their image library on content to which they have licenses, or Getty, like Getty, or open stuff that's out of copyright. And they're indemnifying you against any particular violation. But how much do you worry about the risk of that using AI tools that you'll end up inadvertently using?
Our lawyers worry about it a lot, which is why we have the steering committee. So one of the things that our lawyers loved about Firefly is what Adobe has done, the steps they've taken to protect IP. Because at the end of the day, whatever we develop using these tools has to be ownable to us. So the human interaction points don't go away, because at some point you have to take whatever AI helped you do, and you have to add that editorial voice, that that creative overwatch to then make it ownable and to make it yours. And then you want to make sure that it doesn't escape, and then be used to train some other model. So all that is vetted through our steering committee first before a tool can be applied and or deployed.
Well, one of the other elements that they've introduced was the ability to start with their model and then upload your proprietary IP. So let's say you want to make
our brand portal or whatever.
Well, let's say you have a logo and you want to make a new version, and you could get a designer to draw new versions, but you can use the tool and say, here's 100 new versions, and without having any risk that material is going to get uploaded back into the model.
Exactly, which is great. So data protection, privacy, very important, especially at the enterprise level, but also at the personal level. When it comes to AI, so that's all baked into our process on how we deploy these tools. So Firefly, Writer, two tools. Experimenting with Midjourney, again, another creative development process tool. We've shown off Stable Diffusion running on our platforms in less than a second as far as developing of images, which is very cool. And then we're exploring natural language processing tools. We have deployed both ChatWise as an internal AI chat, as well as Microsoft Teams chat, which is based on Copilot.
What are you using the chats for internally? What do you use ChatWise?
So ChatWise is an internal chat bot, so to speak, that is only trained on our data. So if you're using it to prompt and respond, it's only going to be able to give you a response based on the data set it's been trained on within the Qualcomm, the walls of Qualcomm. And Microsoft Teams chat brings in things from outside. So if the use case for the user is, hey, I want to ask a question of Microsoft Teams chat, and I need data from the outside to help with the response, you would go to Microsoft Teams chat through Copilot, which we've also deployed.
So you've deployed Copilot?
We have deployed Copilot, yes.
How widely?
I would say a phase 1 deployment with super users, people that see the application and the relevance of it now, and then eventually it'll be spread across.
Because what's so
when Snapdragon is powering all the PCs at Qualcomm,
which is coming.
That's when Copilot will become really useful.
Stand by for CES 2025.
Stand by for June of 2024. And so we've done a kind of a phase 1 deployment. I'm a user of Copilot today for example. So that prompt and response, chat GBT function, either through ChatWise or through Microsoft Teams chat, really depends on what data source
Right.
you want to leverage. And then we've deployed AI tools outside of marketing for code development, for code testing. Our legal department's even deploying AI for help with contract development, stuff like that. So
just as long as they're not using like sourcing imaginary case law.
No, right. I think they're pretty astute. We have a lot of lawyers. And they're putting these tools through the same process as every other tool that we've so far been able to deploy.
Right. Yeah. It's so interesting. I mean, one of the interesting things about Copilot, I was experimenting with Copilot the other day, and it instantly empowers you to do things that you wouldn't necessarily be able to do on your own. So one experiment I did was write me a piece of code to do, it was write a piece of code to find the first 100 prime numbers, which is a relatively easy piece of code, if in fact you know how to write code, which I don't, right? So, and in a Flash, you have a piece of code and it's telling you, here's some other options you could do. And then you can flip immediately to draw me a picture of the, Las Vegas skyline at night with, spaceships
unicorns
flying.
Exactly.
Spaceships and unicorns flying through the sky. And in a Flash, there it is.
Yeah.
So it is a remarkable tool.
It is a remarkable tool, and it will get better and become more useful as the performance of the platforms, but not only CPU, GPU, but the NPU performance is there, which is the case on our Snapdragon X Elite platform.
So I want to just touch on one other thing, which is I'm curious about how your team have they embraced the tools? Or how much worry do they have about hey, you can do this without me? Right. So is there does it, because there's been worry about things like job loss. And, and it would seem like if you're working in a creative role that you might have some worries about that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there is, with every new technology evolution, there's always fear. Fear plays into adoption. I personally am a believer that AI tools are meant to replace tasks, not people. Yes, do new skill sets need to be learned? Absolutely. Do we need to train our people on how to use these tools? Absolutely. But the analogy would be CGI, right? When CGI came into the filmmaking industry, was there massive job loss? No. There was skill set development, and there was a different way to develop sets.
That's true.
Right? And yes, some people who were maybe didn't have the capacity to learn or evolve, maybe they had to go do something else. But with every new technology kind of inflection point and breakthrough, in my point, yes, there are fear at the beginning, but AI tools are really about replacing mundane tasks so that you can be more productive, you can be more creative, and you don't have to do that stuff anymore. Things that took you 2 days. Editing video for every time someone said which took 2 days, now takes 5 seconds. That frees me up to do something else. Maybe create another piece of content. And at the speed of the world.
What some people worry is that it means maybe you need one less video editor.
Or maybe that video editor can do more. And that's the way I look at this. And so we've been very transparent with the deployment of the tools on the team. They're excited about learning how to use them. In fact, people can't get trained fast enough across our Adobe stack from Workfront, which we've taken across the entire organization, all the way through to tools like Firefly and Writer. They can't wait to use them. They all look at it as, hey, it's gonna make my job easier in some ways, and it's gonna allow me to be more productive and more creative.
It's been about, just over 12 months, 13 or 14 months since ChatGPT launched. Are you surprised by the speed at which this phenomenon has unfolded over the last year?
I mean, not really, just because of what I do in the company I work for.
Yes, that is true.
So I'm a little bit at advantage there. But I think it is, AI's been running in the background for 10 years. You just didn't know it, maybe. But it's been making your photos better on your phone. It's been doing other things. I view ChatGPT and Gen AI as the press release for AI. It finally brought it to the forefront and gave it a face. And along with that comes all these other things.
But there's a difference between I'm going to make your images in your Zoom look a little crisper, or I'm going to use facial unlock on your phone, and I'm going to
give you a response.
I was doing a session a little while ago, and I was joking with someone. We were talking about content in AI, actually, and I said, now you can, if you want to write, you can get Dr. Seuss poem about CES, and someone in the audience about half a second later handed me a phone where they had prompted ChatGPT to write a Dr. Seuss poem about CES, and And so like in a flash, you're able to create
Yeah.
Original material. It's remarkable.
Yeah, it's great. And, you know, there's some things that have to be worked through as far as, again, training,
Yeah,
things
absolutely.
like that, IP protection.
Yes.
And that will all work itself through. But to me, the interesting thing is right now we're in this Gen AI phase of prompt and respond.
Right.
Prompt and respond, which is very reactive.
Yeah.
And for AI or Gen AI specifically to be really ultimately useful to more people, it's going to have to become anticipatory and suggestive. Right. And as long as you allow it as a human
well, it's kind of
to learn more about you, it can start making suggestions proactively versus waiting for you to prompt it.
There's the notion of a virtual agent, which has been around for a long time.
A true AI assistant.
A true AI assistant will. So I talked to one of your colleagues about this. So in a car, for example, you can think of lots of examples where you might want your AI in the car to prompt you, to remind you you're running out of gas, or
you need to pick up whatever at the store.
Right, you've got a message from your wife and you should pick up milk. Or it looks like you're down to 30% on your battery. Would you like me to find an EV
nearest charger? Yeah.
Or it looks like there's
that's useful.
All those kinds of things.
That's really useful. So we need to transition to that.
Right.
Because if we
not
don't,
prompt related.
Right. If we don't, it's just going to be novel.
Right.
Like write me a Dr. Seuss poem. Okay. That was cool, but what am I doing with it?
Right.
Not much. But if you integrate it into your life and you have a true assistant that can be anticipatory and suggestive, you start getting value out of that. And I think whether it's the car scenario that you just brought up, or whether it's on your phone or on your PC or wherever it is that you're interacting with a device or a device experience, that's where the usefulness I think is going to be pervasive. And again, it's going to be a hybrid, right? So some stuff's going to happen on device, some stuff at the edge, and some stuff in the cloud. And we have to have principles and standards and protection so that people feel good and feel comfortable about it. And then I think the sky's the limit, really.
One last question I have is, if we do this again in 12 months, how's the conversation going to be different?
I think there's going to be more recognition and more availability of AI tools across device ecosystems. I think the launches of the next generation of smartphones this year, in particular, one that's about to happen in about a week, you're going to see some pretty cool Gen AI experiences that are as a result of the collaboration between ourselves, Samsung, and Google, that are going to start telling that usefulness story and delivering experiences for users and consumers to say, wow, I can see myself doing that. This is helpful to me. And beyond this is just cool and novel. So I think that's starting in 24. That will continue. A lot of buzz around the AI PC here at the show. The real AI PC launches in June. So stay tuned for that. So second half of this year, we're going to start to see that inflection point. And then we're already starting to deploy in automotive. So you'll see 2024 and 2025, a lot of the applications and a lot of the scalability of AI in things like auto.
Great.
As well.
Don, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.